Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the second round in PSGL PlayStation Formula 3 here in China. After an amazing race last week in Silverstone in England, we are heading towards Asia, towards this Shanghai International Circuit in China. An amazing track as it's one of the biggest on the calendar. And yeah, before we're going to take a look at that beautiful track, we're going to take a look at the standings. And of course, my colleagues from PC, they all have those amazing graphics. Unfortunately, I don't, so I'll just tell it to them. As last week in Silverstone, the race winner was Johan in the Williams. He won with a dominant race in his Williams. In second place, it was Nat Burney in the Haas. In third place, it was Rotax. And after the penalties, Moran in the Mercedes got into P4. Jolosh is into P5. He got a 5-second penalty after the race, which saw him fall back in the order down to P5. Mohamed in the Red Bulls in P6. Zen Litti, a really great driver, a reserve, but he's in P7. He did an amazing race last week. As it's IMK in P8, Noah was P9 and Marco Panish was P2 in the race. Already got a 10-second time penalty by then because he was speeding in the pit lane. And after the race he also got a 5-second penalty, which sees him fall back to P10. So still, for Cadillac, it's 1 point on their debut, but it could have been a lot more for the Cadillacs in Silverstone. But they will get a second chance here in Shanghai tonight, as Marco Panish and Provatox are both driving. So they will get a new opportunity to get some points here in Shanghai tonight. As the first drivers are now out for their first laps, qualifying has started. And we're going to take a look who will be able to get the pole position here in Shanghai, which is such a difficult track, but really good for fighting. You see on the back of this track a really big straight. Overtaking is really possible here on Shanghai, so we'll see who will be able to get a good lap in here. As the first one out on track is CJM in the Audi. CJM, he was one of our DNFs last week. We had 7 DNFs last week in Silverstone, which is of course quite a lot. 19 drivers and 7 did not make the finish. CJM was one of them, so he'll try and get a revenge on this race. He'll try and get some points tonight, as he's the first one to put in a lap, crossing the line for the start of his run. And now going into turns 1, 2 and 3. A really long right-hander, which is split up in 3 corners. CGM. And here is turn 4. Also a really long left-hander. Really long, really long. And now on this little straight, sprint mode available. And now a real hard braking point. And now a really long left-hander once more on this track. We see a lot of them on this track. Normally I would introduce you to my co-commentator. My name is Jesse van Apeldoorn, but my co-commentator, yeah, there is no one tonight. Normally I would be there with Harry tonight, but unfortunately he is not here. He is on his holiday in New Zealand. We wish him a really great time there. But that unfortunately means that I will be alone tonight. But don't worry, you'll be in my safe hands for this race. Don't worry at all. Harry will be gone for 4 weeks, so that means you will need to do it with me for the next couple of weeks. But maybe in the upcoming races there will be a reserve commentator for our tier. We'll see in the upcoming weeks. But for tonight, you will need to do it with me and only me. As CGM is now going through the final corner of this Shanghai International Circuit, and the first lap time will be a 1:31.6, and that's not even a really bad lap time. Great first lap to start this qualifying. as his teammate Heiser goes up into P2 with a 31.8, 1.5 tenths slower than his teammate. And Mark Daniel goes up into P3 a bit slower than Heiser, as well a 31.8. Last week in qualifying in Silverstone, we saw the gaps being so small, and there was really no margin as Nexus goes up into P4, but immediately fell back to P5 as Ned Burney goes up into the first position onto a provisional pole with a 1:31.5. Great lap for Ned Burney as Johan is now in P2. Johan, race winner. Ned Burney went up to get P2, but Johan is a tenth slower, more than a tenth slower than Ned Burney, which sees him in P2 at the moment. Marco Panesh in P4. Last week, P10 for him after the penalties. Rotax goes up into provisional pole, but there's his teammate Mohamed going down on him. It's a 1:31.4. Great lap for Mohamed, as Red Bull are now P1 and P2. Rotax had a really great qualifying as well in Silverstone last week. Was on provisional pole for a long time. However, the pole position was as well for him, by the way. So Rotax was on pole last week, and he will try to get another one in this second round of the season. As we see Robbe into P11. Robbe, also a reserve driver. Wasn't there last week, but is there now. Same for Mark Daniel, by the way. However, he is a real VCAR driver, but just wasn't able to make it. Gijs goes up into P10. Same for him. He wasn't there last week. He was sick, I know, and but for tonight he is there for his first race in PSGL, and he put in the exact same lap time as Bazao in P9. So that's a 1:31.859. As those gaps once more are quite small on an even bigger track now than last week. But still, there are really fine margins. We're almost done with those first runs. As we'll take a look with Noah, he invalidated his lap. Maybe he goes once more as Chris in the Alpine. For him as well, his first race of the season was not there last week. Chris goes a bit deep there. No invalidates, that's fortunate for him. He goes up into P12 with a 1:31.8 as well. So we see P8 until P12 all in the 1:31.8 gap are still really close here tonight. We're still out then. Noah 24.8 in sector 1. It's his sector time there. There's only 11 minutes left in this qualifying. 7 minutes already gone. And we still have 3 drivers not have put in a lap time. And also the time of Jolush wasn't that great, of course. He made a mistake in that lap. Noah now going on that real big straight, real big back straight on this circuit, where the most overtakes will be held in the race. Now a deep braking point with this hairpin, and he cut it nicely. So Noah is doing quite a good lap here, going to the final corner, but still boxing. Into the box goes Noah, so still no lap for him. What will critical damage do then? I think he also will box. Yes, he will. IMK then, he is out on track, as well as Ned Burney and Johan and a couple more drivers for the second run of this qualifying session. Like I said, quite long laps here, so you have to be a bit quick to put in 3 lap times here. But most drivers will be able to put in 3 lap times. As we're almost halfway, 9 minutes left in this qualifying session. And for now it is Mohamed in the Red Bull on provisional pole, 1:31.4, great lap. But will there be quicker lap times in this qualifying? Or will it be already enough for the pole positions? The gaps are small, so you cannot tell already who will get that pole position, as IMK will now start his lap. Next is CGM and Heiser, also already on their way for this lap. But we will look with IMK and we'll do that on board. Now on this first straight, over start finish, into this really long right-hander. Amy, welcome. I am, yes, I'm a new commentator. Last week was my first one, and now I'm alone for tonight, but yeah, it's my second time commentating here. Sector time for IMK is a 23.9. He goes really deep into the corner. Missed the apex by margin, so, and yeah, you see already, he's slowing down, as this won't be the lap for him. CJM then, he is on that really long back straight. Thanks mate, appreciate it. As Heiser goes up into provisional pole with a 31.4, great lap by the Audi who wasn't able to participate last week. CGM, his teammate, what can he do? 31.5, goes up into P5, gets the position of Johan. But Johan is 2/10 up on his own lap time. 2/10 quicker than he already went. With 2/10 you can fight for the time of Heiser. How is that final sector for Johan? Is it enough? Yes it is! It's a 1:31.3 and Johan goes up into provisional pole as he is 9/100ths of a second quicker than Heiser. Great lap time by the man in the Williams who won last week's race. Over the line now, it is Jolush almost. Jolush still not with a lap time, so it needs to be good for him. But a 31.8, it could be better, but it is P14 for him. He is on the timesheet, which is the most important in this qualifying. Bazile then, he won't set a better lap time as he is 1.3 seconds down on his own lap time. And maybe he'll try again. We'll see about that as Moran goes, or his teammate Snow goes up into P9. Moran goes into the box. Was improving on his own lap time, but I think he made a mistake in that final sector. Marco Panish then, in the Cadillac. Drove a really good race last week, like I said, but with that penalties, he fell completely back to P10. Which only gives him 1 point, of course. But Marco Panish, this will be a really great lap. I think he was trying to go for another one. He will be trying to go for another one. Same goes for Rotex. Mohamed then, he is on the lap, was on provisional pole after the first runs. Now fell back to P4. In sector 1 he was a 10 down on his own lap time. And you see a couple of mistakes here and there. And 4/10s down now. That's not how he likes it. This run won't be it for him. Hello Jesper. Good to see you, mate. As you saw, Chris, 2/10s up on his own lap time. Great lap by Chris in the Alpine, going up to P9. DAZ, hello guys. Good to see you as well. Noah also not on an improvement at this moment. Who is? You see most people going into the box. Is Rotex on his lap then? For now in P5. 2/10 slower than the lap time of Johan. But also Rotex is going into the box. So Johan is on provisional pole then in the Williams with a 131.3. Great lap by the Williams. Heiser's in P2 and Ned Burney in P3. That's how things go for now, as we will be waiting for the final runs. Is Robbe already out for his outlap? He gone early. And maybe we'll do some fuel burning then. That's also possible. Don't know if he will, but we'll see. Everyone's in the pits now, 21 drivers apart from Robbe Jacobs. He is still on this track. He is for his outlap and I think he is burning his fuel. So maybe he'll do a double outing, 2 outlaps, and then go for his final run. He's in P17 at the moment. And he wants to improve as much as possible in the Ferrari, as his teammate is down in P22 without a lap time at this moment. So Ferrari needs something. Number 2 in the car for Robbe Jacobs, as now most of the drivers are driving out of their pit box. It's time for the final runs in this qualifying. Most cars are out for their outlap. And we'll have to wait 2 more minutes in the second qualifying session of the season. And Johan, with that 31.3, is having a chance for pole position. But who could be quicker, go quicker than him? And is Robbe going for it? Don't think so. No, he is not. So like I said, Robbe is doing 2 outlaps in a row to burn down his fuel. And then, yeah, without a lot of fuel in the car, a lot of fuel was burned already on this track. So his tank won't be full. Will be emptier than basically everyone on this track. So I think it's a great move by Robbe. His tank will be emptier, but his tires will be more damaged. That's the only thing going not better for him. So a couple drivers have started their final runs. Mohammed, Heiser, they all started their final runs. Mohammed was in P1 after the first run. Is he able to get that P1 back? Oh, sorry. My voice there. He goes 5/10 up. 5/1000 of a second up on his own lap time in sector 1. 5/1000 won't be enough, but still 2 very long sectors coming up for him. Here's the place to win the time, to gain on the other cars. Almost there, 18,000 now. He won only 13,000 in that second sector. He needs to get a big margin in that final sector to get the time of Johan. 20 seconds left in the session. And only Mark and Chris are still doing their outlap. Same for Robbe, by the way. But they're all in the final corner. Mohammed almost spins out there, going into the corner. Is giving it absolutely everything. But will it be enough for the Red Bull? Now going into the final corner. A bit wide, but not wide enough. Is it a... yeah, P2, man. 26,000 behind Johan. And it is P2 for Mohammed. Heiser not on a great lap at the moment. He is done in this qualifying. Johan then. 1.3 tenths up on his own lap time. What can he do? Can he improve? Yes, he can. It's a 131.1. Incredible lap by Johan. And he improves his provisional pole. And is now 1.5 tenths ahead of Mohammed as well. Is Ned Burney able to do anything about it then? Moran goes up into P6. It's Marco Panish now down in P9. Who will be able? Ned Burney now to the final corner. What can he do? 31.2, and it's only 13 one-thousandths of a second. But Johan still on provisional pole. Is there anyone? Snow goes up into P9. Who can do something about this? Critical damage. Hasn't set the lap time at this moment yet. 31.9 is only P20. Robert Jacobsen improving almost 4/10 in the second sector. Only Chris and him and Jolush are still going for a lap as Robert Jacobs goes up into P5. Incredible lap for the reserve driver. Great lap as now Jolush is going into the box. So he made a mistake on that final run. He's down in P20. But the pole position is there for our race winner from Silverstone. Johan is on pole. And as well Ned Burney, he was P2 in Silverstone. And is now P2 in this qualifying as well. Johan on pole, Ned Burney in P2. And look at the gap between P1 and P2. It's only 13 thousandths of a second. But for Johan it was just enough. He is on pole for the Grand Prix in China. Last week Johan was P3 in the qualifying in Silverstone. And gone all the way up to P1. But for now he is in P1. What a lap by Johan. Like I said, Ned Burney 13 thousandths of a second slower. He's in P2. Mohammed P3. And we see Heiser in P4. Robbe after that final stint where he's done 2 outlaps. He's in P5. Rotex, the pole sitter from last week, now down in P6. Moran is in P7. IMK in the Williams sees his teammate on pole position and is for himself in P8. CGM and Audi P9 and Chris is in P10. That's our top 10 for the race here in China. As it will be interesting, what tires will the drivers choose? It's dry on the Shanghai International Circuit, so that means we will be able to see the mix softs, medium and hard. Last week there was Zenliti going for the hard compound tire, and that really worked out for him as he made up a lot of positions at the end of the first stint and as well at the end of the second stint. So at the end Zenliti got in P7, which is an amazing result for him. He isn't here tonight as he's a reserve driver, but will there be people following his example from last week and going for that hard compound tire here in China? P9, yes, a good job Vessel. Well done, mate. Another 2 points for you, man. Really good job. Well done. As I will take a look what time we are going to start. Of course, we have to wait for the drivers finalizing their setups, finalizing their strategy. I deserve PSGL F1. Alright. Ready up at 29. At this moment it is 28. So we will have to wait for 1 more minute. 28 past 8 is in British Standard, 28 past 9 in Central European time. Gijs will win. Will he? Well, he starts in P12. As it's now 29 past 8 or past 9, just where you live. So we'll start this race any moment from now. Comeback race, yeah, we'll see if he's able to. We don't know his pace really on this grid, so maybe a comeback is possible for him. Still a couple of drivers finalizing their strategy for this race. And then we'll go on and watch the second race of this season in PSGL PlayStation F3. Who will be the winner of the second race? We know it in about 45 minutes. As the 5 red lights are now on for this race, it is Johan in pole position, Nat Bernie in P2. Lights are out, and who has the best start? It's a great start for Johan. Nat Bernie won't be able to do anything into turn 1. At the back of the pack, we don't see any collisions, as all drivers are safely through to turn 1. And now going into turn 2 and 3. It's Johan still on the lead. Nat Bernie in P2. It's Mohammed in P3. And Heiser in P4. At the back there are a lot of fights. We see Marco Penish fighting with Mark Daniel for the 11th position. He lost a couple of positions there. And he sees the Alpine going a bit deep there. And Marco Penish gets up into P11. Up front then we see Robbe already needing to leave a gap to Mohammed. 5 tenths to between P4 and P3 as the yellow flag is out. I think, oh, it's at the back. And we see a virtual safety car. It was Nexus. Spun around. And the virtual safety car, I think it was together with Rotex. And that's such a shame for him. A bad start for Rotex. He started P6 in this race. But now fell down to P21. And the virtual safety car is out. Rotex spun around in that first lap. Not ideal for him. 28 laps tonight here in Shanghai. And for Rotex, the race didn't start as good as last week. Last week he lost a couple of positions as well at the start, where he started from pole position. But now he lost a bit too much, I think. Green flag's out, so we'll race once more. And Nat Bernie is really up the tail of Johan. Great restart for Nat Bernie, as he is only 3 tenths down on Johan. Can't do anything into the first corner as it's Noah and Shelov boxing already in the first lap. They have damage, I think. As we're going to take a look at what tires everyone is driving. Of course, Noah onto the hards. What will Shelov do? I think he'll go onto the hards as well. Yes, he will. So we see quite a lot of drivers on the mediums. On the hards we see Jolush, Gijs and Kinskman and IMK as well. Basically everyone in the top 10 on the mediums. Not basically, like actually everyone in the top 10 on the mediums, as the yellow flags out one more. And it is for Shelov into turn 1. It's just going out of the box. Cold tires, and I think he had a little moment there. But he's able to go ahead and drive. So we see 6 cars on the hard compound tire at the moment. And yeah, they will have some struggles in those first couple of laps, but maybe at the end of the first stint it will work for them. As Jolush is losing quite some time here. 2 positions lost. I think he had a moment going on to that big back straight. As we see Robbe Jacobs going wide in that final turn. It's a really hard turn, as now Nat Bernie is round the outside, trying to go around the outside of Johan. Johan's defending. But now into turn 2 and 3. In turn 4, Nat Bernie will have the inside. But Johan may have the better exit here. Nat Bernie and Johan still side by side. Going on to turn 5. Nat Bernie tries to go around the outside, the long way around. And he almost makes that work. Now the turn goes left and Johan is still in the lead. Great defending by the Williams, as Nat Bernie tried to get the lead here on lap 3. First attacking moments for the leaders in this race. As Nat Bernie is still so close to Johan, as Nat Bernie is looking down the inside, but can't make an overtake there. Now he's in P2. Robbe Jacobs after that mistake in the final corner last lap. Down in P4 and almost a second behind Mohammed. Not ideal for him. Position changes. We see Robbe Jacobs and Heiser now immediately changing their positions. Robbe around the outside of Heiser. Heiser tried the overtake down the inside. And Robbe stays in P4. So he gained one position on Heiser in the opening laps. Moran still in P6. Snow and Marco Panic gained a lot of positions. 6 and 4 for the both of them. Great job. And most positions lost, of course, by IMK and Rotax. Rotax in P6, now already up into P16. Great job by him, because he was down in P21, but now in P16 already. However, he has a gap to the cars in front. 3.5 seconds to Critical Damage, who won 6 positions. Great job by him. Provatox as well, 9 positions. He started in last. Now he's up into P12, as he's now won 10 positions. As we speak, getting past CGM, and Gijs is getting past CGM as well, and Critical Damages as well. Mistake by the Audi, who also lost 6 positions. And it looks like he is damaged, not turning in the way you would love to see it. As the cars up front are fighting. Ned Burney tried an overtake and is still down the inside of Johan. As we're going on to that back straight. Johan has his nose ahead, but Ned Burney has the inside line here. Oh, Johan uses his battery there and defends his line. Johan stays in the lead as Ned Burney tries to switch back in, but that does not work for him. Robbe Jacobs now up into P3 as Mohammed lost a lot of time with those cars ahead fighting. And now he sees Robbe get past him. Great job by Robbe, as he was 1 second down going into the lap, and now is ahead of Mohammed. So Mohammed lost a lot of time because of Ned and Johan fighting. Oh. Moran going up into P5, getting ahead of Heiser. Mark Daniel, he boxed early in this race, puts in the fastest lap of this race. He's in P20 at the moment in his V-car. Seeing his teammate fighting for P13. His teammate started on the hards. Gijs fighting with Critical Damage. As CJM left the session. It's unfortunate for him. A disconnect. Driving in P15. Kinsman, he is the first one of the hard runners, so we'll mostly take a look at him and what he will be able to do. As Ned Burney now is in the lead. Did he get past Johan now? Johan still looking, but now Ned Burney is in the lead. As it's lap 5, and for the first time in this race we see a change in leaders. Johan is now in P2 and Ned Burney is up into P1 in this race. Exactly what he needs is this P1. Great job by Ned Burney. He tried for a couple of laps, but now he made the overtake stick and gets up into P1. At the back it's still those hard runners fighting. Gijs, Critical Damage, as well Kinsman. Fighting with Chris for the final points in this race, as we see a yellow flag in sector 1. And that's Provatox together with someone. Together with who was that? I think it was together with the AI of CJM. Provatox is making his way back on the track. But CJM, he had a disconnect. And I think he made contact with Provatox there. Certainly unfortunate for Provatox. Oh, and he spun around once more. Now in turn 5. And now we'll make everyone get past him on a safe way. But what a moment in this race for Provatox. Not ideal for him, as he let Noah past as well. And I think he will need to box at the end of this lap. P21, as his start was great, but now he fell back down the order once more. As Ned Burney has a 5-10 gap to Johan, so he is gapping him. He's doing absolutely incredible, Ned Burney, as he's trying to gain more and more over the next couple of laps. Lap 7 of 28 we are in. And it's Ned Burney in the lead. Those hardburners then slightly making their way up, but Jolush is almost 7 seconds behind of Gijs, which is not ideal for Jolush. Jolush was in the leading pack in Silverstone, basically the whole race in the top 5, and he has led the race in the first stint, but for now he fell back to P14, and it does not really look like he will be able to get some position back, as Provotox left the session as well. Could be a disconnect, could be the man himself just leaving this race with that really unfortunate last lap for Provotox. As it's quite interesting to see that the gaps are still really close. We're really driving in a train, as it's, I think, Marco Panish fighting. Marco Panish behind Mohammed and Moran. And Moran getting past Mohammed. Mohammed lost 3 positions in the last couple of laps and is now down in P6. So Mohammed is struggling with his tires, I think, and sees a lot of drivers get past him. Moran, Heiser and Robbe already got past the man. But like I said, there's still a train from P1 all the way down to P9, and Kisman is quite close to that train as well. So basically the top 13 is right up each other still, which is really hard to overtake, of course, because everyone is having overtake available. Overtake mode, you get that when you are within 1 second of the car ahead. You'll get overtake mode over the whole laps, which just gives you a bit extra horsepower over the lap than your car in front, but not when your car in front is also having overtake. So yeah, it's really difficult to make an overtake now. But as we speak, Robbe is struggling as well, as he's now on 1.5 down on Johan and is having Heiser right up still. Heiser 2 tenths behind Robbe, and with overtake mode he easily gets past the Ferrari. Heiser in the Audi gets up into P3. This is his teammate down in P17, but himself getting up to P3, which is really important for Audi. AERT doing well here, solid. Just like last week, I think. Last week I saw the admin as well in the chat. And you told me that Marco Panish was your driver as well. 2, 3, 5 and 7. Wow. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Can't lie about that. As Marco Panish is now fighting with Mohammed as well. Mohammed going for the switchback after turn 5. Now he needs to go the long way around, and that's not possible to make an overtake. Marco Panish gets up into P6 then. Great job by Marco Panish, as he's making his way up in this race by quite a lot of positions. How many positions has he won? He won already 8 positions. Started in P14 and is now in P6. He's doing an incredible job in this race, and is still quite close to the leading cars, as we see a yellow flag in sector 3. Who is gone? Is it CJM? Is it Bazal? I think it's Bazal. I think Bazal had a moment there in the Haas, which sees him fall back to P13. I think it was him, yeah, because he is in that gap between Gijs and Jolush. As Marco Panish Now already making his way up into P5 as Robin Jacobs fell back to P6. He was in P3 a couple laps ago. Then Heiser, we saw Heiser overtake him, and now he's in P6. What has happened there? As we saw a big moment, but Robin still fighting back for his position. Tried to go the long way around in turns 1, 2, and 3. But now having Mohammed. Ooh, contact between the two, Mohammed and Robin into turn 4. Robin keeps that position for now, but is having Mohammed right up his tail and trying to make an overtake. Mohammed stays in P7 and also is having Snow right up his tail. So those gaps are so small in P6 until P8. 3 cars right up each other's tail, which is really exciting as we are already in lap 10 of 28. When will we see the first pit stops, the first real pit stops? We saw one. Chris has boxed for a brand new set of hearts. And is then the first one, I think, to make a pit stop. Ooh, going down the inside of CGM, which is an AI of course. And CGM now in contact with Noah. That AI of CGM is not doing anyone favors there, because he had contact with Provatox and now with Chris and Noah. Really unfortunate for those drivers, as they, as the driver CGM is just in their way. Kinsman now makes his way up into P9 as on those hard compounds he's now finally making some positions up. Moran into the box as well as Snow. Both Mercedeses are boxing. That's quite weird, as they are double stacking then. So both Mercedeses are boxing, Moran and Snow. And Snow lost some time with that, and he also lost the position to critical damage in the Ferrari, who is now virtually up into the points. Ooh, critical damage. Losing positions just behind IMK, but already made his way up into P14 ahead of IMK in turns 2 and 3. Great job by critical damage, and he sees Snow behind, but Snow already trying for an overtake as well. And Snow gets up into P15 as well. So right behind critical damage, they are fighting, I think, for the final point. Or maybe even P9 and P10. Virtually then, after all the cars ahead make their pit stop. Kinsman still on those hards. Kinsman and Gijs, they are right behind each other. They're both on the hards. So they will need to do a long stint on these tires. As Gijs looking down the inside of Kinsman. What a dive on by Gijs, and he gets switchbacked by the man in Aston Martin. Ooh, Gijs. What an overtake he tried there, but Kinsman says thank you very much and gets the switchback done. It's Heiser now boxing. He was in P3. Maybe trying an undercut on Nat Bernie and Johan then by boxing 1 lap earlier, maybe 2 laps, as Nat Bernie and Johan still are not in the box of course. Gijs still looking at the inside of Kinsman. Can he get past now? Big moment of oversteer for him. And that being said, Kinsman can get past again. Gijs still on the outside. And now having the inside line, but will he go for it? Yes, he will. Gijs will not give up on this one, as it is Kinsman defending really hard on him. They won't make it each other really easy. Maybe it's better for them to work together on, because they're both on the hard compound, but they say no. We're just fighting for everything here. Gijs tried everything he could, but still is not ahead of Kinsman. And by the way, look at the gap between P1 and P2. It was more than a second, but it's now 9/10 because Johan used his battery. So that sees him now on 8/10. Still, that overtake is really important. They're both going into the box. Nat Bernie the first one. They both get a bit wide as well on the entry. But Ned Burney's boxing. Same goes for Johan and Marco Panish as well. Top 3's boxing. Virtually of the top 3. But of course Heiser already boxed. We'll take a look with Heiser as Robert gets that 10-second time penalty you really don't want. Too aggressive in the box. And that sees his race. Yeah, that's not great for his race. Let's say it like that. Heiser then. Where will be his end position? P8 behind Moran. Moran boxed 1 lap earlier. And is now ahead of Heiser. Good afternoon, Kawa. How are you doing, mate? I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Gijs and Kinsman now P2 and P3. But virtually they're down, of course. But they will box to the mediums. So they are a really important factor. Mohammed stays out really long on those mediums. Same goes for Nexus. On that mediums. They will lose a lot of time with that. You see Mohammed already losing lots of time to Kinsman and Gijs. As they are on old hards. But they're just lots better now than those old mediums from Mohammed. Mohammed will need to box. Same goes for Nexus. What will Mohammed do? He will go into the box. 13 laps on the mediums, which is an incredible stint by the man in a Red Bull. But his position won't be as good as he liked, I think, because he lost a lot of time with all those guys undercutting him. Mohammed behind Johan, behind Heiser. I reckon he will fall back behind Marco Panish as well. Yes, he will. Snow also ahead. Critical damage as well. Mohammed down in P13. And he spins going out of the pit lane. What is he doing? Mohammed. Like straight lining the wall. And that, oh man. He's straight lining the, what is he doing? Yeah, he's, I think, making sure everyone can pass him easily or something, but after he drove out of the box, after the safety car line, he just fully turned into the wall. Such a weird moment in this race, but Mohammed's now down in P18 with damage. And his race with that basically over. What happened there for the Red Bull driver? Who sees his teammate as well in P15. Both were P1 and 2 at one moment in qualifying. And are now down in P15 and P18. And you see Mohammed having damage because this turning does not really look great for him. What a moment in this race. Mohammed now in P18. Moran gets past Jolush. Jolush on all tires. As Gijs now takes the lead of this race. Finally getting past Kinsman. Gijs is now the leading car on the hards. Will he be able to do the same as Zen Litty was last week with a big moment of oversteer there for Gijs, but he keeps it on the black stuff and now needs to drive as quick as he can before he goes on to the mediums together with Kinsman, but he will be the leading car. The leading car driving on the hards as Nexus still out on those mediums. That's an incredible stint by the man in the McLaren. Already down in P13 though and still having to box. That's not ideal. Mohammed 10-second penalty. I reckon he will DNF it. Yes, he will. Mohammed is our first retirement in this race. So unfortunate for Mohammed as, yeah, I'm quite curious what happened there because, yeah, he just fully turned it into the wall after he crossed the safety car line. Maybe he put his steering wheel wrong or something. I have no clue. But that was so weird seeing. And he is our first retirement of this race. Robbo also in P11 now, so he got a 10-second penalty and is in P11. Lost a lot of positions on these tires. basically because everyone undercut him. He's only 2 laps now on his tires, but you see Snow, critical damage, and Heiser, Moran, all a couple of laps longer on that tire. As Ned Burney is extending his lead. Margin lead to Johan. It's now 2.1, but like it gets 2, sometimes 3 laps bigger per lap. With a small margin, keeping extending it, and then for Nets, this looks really good and really promising. As Nexus is still out on that tire, still haven't boxed. I think he's driving until he gets a puncture or something, because this is quite a bizarre tactic, but maybe it'll work for him. As he will be, of course, in really fresh tires after he boxes. Fresher than everyone else's. As Ned Burney is now up the tail of Kinsman, and Gijs will need to pass those guys really quick, as Gijs and Kinsman both can do Johan a favor here and hold Ned Burney up. If they won't box, it will be really good. They both don't, so Ned Burney will have to overtake them completely by himself, as he's already trying to get past Kinsman and Gijs as well. Is it 2 in 1? Yes it is. Ned Burney gets back into the lead already, getting past both of them into turn 1 already. What a move by Ned Burney on that fresh compound hards. And Kinsman as well got past Gijs again, so he's in P2 now. What an overtake by Ned Burney, getting back to the lead of this race. Really important as well, as Nex is still staying out. 16 laps now on those mediums. So now Johan is the man who needs to get past really quick, because for Ned Burney he could even gain more and more time if Johan is stuck behind these drivers. And Johan is stuck. Look at him. Ned Burney already 2.3 seconds ahead. And 2.9 seconds ahead of Johan. Johan needs to get past Gijs now. Into the hairpin. Going down the inside. And maybe he'll try. No, Kinsman is really far ahead. Makes a mistake though. So maybe there's a chance for Johan. He gets past Gijs, but needs to get past Kinsman as well. Kinsman boxing. And Gijs is as well. So, Gijs. Sharp turn in there into the box. Those hard runners are boxing. And they're boxing earlier than Nexus. That's actually insane. Of course, they will go to the mediums. Both drivers boxing for mediums, as Chris is boxing as well. He already made his pit stop. But is now in the box as well. With that, Rotax up in P10. Damage limitation is it for Red Bull. But the max for him will be P9, as Snow is just too far ahead of Basal. And Kinsman on those mediums already fighting with Rotax. Kinsman is already cut past, so up in P10. But I think same goes for him. P9 will be the max for the Aston Martin driver, unless he can make up 11 seconds to Basal or to Snow, because Snow is 11 seconds ahead of Basal. I think Kinsman will get Basal quite easily on these fresh tires, with a bit more than 10 laps remaining in this race. Kinsman going down the inside, And like I said, getting up into P9 as Nexus now finally boxed for a fresh set of hearts and is now in P19. However, he is the final car that is real drive, that's really driving, because CJM and Provotox are AI drivers. Kinsman up in P9 and now he has to get a really big gap and gain a lot on snow to maybe get a couple of more positions. Keep in mind that Robert Jacobs has a 10-second penalty, which could see him fall down the order. But for now, it will be still P8 for him, as Kinsman is too far behind. Gijs spun, mate. Did he? Oh no. Just out on these mediums, and I heard he had a spin. That's not great for him. But still, he did not lose quite a lot. He lost a couple of seconds, but... yeah, it's a new strategy for the Haas. Yeah, it's a glitch with Basal. Yeah, a bit of his front wing is missing. I think, yeah, with for the straight line speed, it is good for them. You see now Rotex as well, without a wing. That's quite weird, but so weird to see. But a couple of drivers, I've seen it with a couple of drivers. It's just a glitch, but no problem. Of course, we know who is who. But yeah, quite an interesting strategy by the Haas drivers, like you said. As Kinsman now putting in the fastest lap of the race. On those mediums, he has to, of course. And is now 9.2 down on snow. Will he be able to gain all that time? F126 without glitch is not F126, yeah. But yeah. We have to live with it. It's yeah, it's not really bothering, so that's great. Yeah, the gaps are now a bit bigger than in the first stint. There are some gaps now, especially up front. You see Nat Burney 2.8 ahead, Heiser then 2, or it's Johan 2.1 ahead of Heiser. Moran 1.7 down on Heiser. Then Marco Panish in P5, 1.7. Critical damage 6 seconds. What a race, by the way, by critical damage. 15 places won. Whoa. As well for Marco Panish, by the way, he won 9 places. So both for those two, incredible races. Fighting for the points, I think it will be Basal, Rotex and Gijs. Fighting for that final point. Gijs may have a little advantage because he is on a fresh compound mediums. But yeah, like we said, he just spun, so definitely not ideal for the man in the V-car. Who saw Zenlitzy last week in his position do an incredible drive. He tries to do the same, starting on the hards and going on to the mediums. Ooh. My water fell there. I'm sorry. Let's take a look again in the position changes after quali. Like I said, critical damage of Marco Panish has won 15 and 9 places. Wow. That's actually incredible. Of course, Nat Burney and Johan, they switched. And Moran won 3 positions as well. Yeah, the biggest loss is for CJM, of course. He started in P9 and is now in P20. Rotex, of course, he had a really bad start after a little spin in lap 1, which saw us getting a VSC Now already up in P11, so quite a good recovery for Rotax. But still, the job's not done because he wants to get into the points, of course. But is in the sandwich from Bazaal and Gijs. Gijs trying to make a look on Rotax then. But not having enough grip to get on his outside. Biggest fights going on here. Kinskman now 6.1 behind, so he's winning more than a second a lap. Maybe Snow is under big threat. I think he is. Look at Kinskman gaining on Snow then. So now it's Provatox. Getting past Provatox there, and now 5.3. Those gaps are so small. They're getting so small. Corner by corner by corner. Kinskman is gaining. And Snow is in a fight as well, which is helping Kinskman in this battle. Snow wants to get past Robba then. And Robba made a mistake into the hairpin. Snow on his inside as Chris is our second retirement of the race. Retiring in the pit lane. We saw him box to new mediums. On a weird moment. I think he had some damage there. And he's our second retirement of the race. Of course, Mohamed also lost a lot of positions. 19. He was in P3 for quite long in this race, but saw that weird moment in turn 1 after getting out of the box. Yellow sector 1 is for the retirement of Chris. As Snow gets past Robbe Jacobs. Robbe Jacobs, however, he is trying the switchback. Won't be able to stick it. And so Snow is up into P7. But this is losing time for them. Because Kinskman is now less than 4 seconds behind. And it's looking really good for him. As Gijs gone up into P11. Ahead of Rotax. Who is there? It's... Oh, Nexus. Lil Spin. On his fresh heart. What is he doing then? Just keep it on the leg stuff, mate. I think he'll box. Was the driver who was on the hard compound for the longest. Or the medium, excuse. But now on these hards, it's not really working for him. And I think he will retire his car. Yes, he will. And he will be our third retirement then of the race. So next is out as well. Marco Panish is looking at the back of Maran. Finally, a gap at the top close. Because we haven't seen a real fight in the top for a couple of laps here. As Marco Panish tries to get up into P4. Fighting with Maran. Like I told at the start of the stream, Marco Panish got a 10-second penalty in last race. We saw him fall back to P6. And after the race he also got a 5-second penalty. We saw him fall back to P10. So only 1 point last week. So he's trying to make up for that. And he is now into P5. But fighting with Maran. Gijs is up into P10. He's up into the points. On those mediums. Which sees strategy completed for Gijs. Last week it was because of those penalties from Marco and Jolus. Maran in P4 won 8 positions last race. Because he started in P12. Now as well in P4. So for him it could be 2 P4s in a row at the start of this season. As they're crossing the line now for the final 4 laps of this race. And look at Kinskman as well. Almost at the back of Robbe Jacobs. He will get the back of Robbe Jacobs as Gijs gets a 3-second penalty. And just a minute ago I said strategy completed for him because he was in the points which was his goal, I think. Now with a 3-second penalty, he will fall back behind Bazal and Rotex again. So it will be P12 for him. So he needs to pick up the pace immediately. Needs to make use of his medium tires. And get away by Bazal and Rotex. Because otherwise, for him, it's such a shame. Snow is fighting with both the Ferraris, which is helping Kinsman behind. As Kinsman is now on 1.01 seconds. Behind Robert Jacobs, 1.9, 1.8. Is he in overtake distance? Yes, he is. 8 tenths now on Robert Jacobs. So next lap he will get overtake mode. As Marco Penish and Moran are fighting as well. Marco Penish tried to get P4, but was not able to. Ooh. Oh! Big moment of oversteer there for Marco Penish. Whoa. As I think there's a spin. Yeah, Robert. Oh, Robert coming out of the hairpin after the back straight. A spin for the Ferrari, and Robert won't get any points now with a 10-second penalty. What a shame for the reserve driver. Driving for Ferrari tonight. Was in a good position this race. Has been in P3 for quite a long time. But now he has to box with that damage. And there will be no points for the man in the Ferrari tonight. What a shame for him. Gijs is picking up the pace. 1.5 ahead now of Rotex. So he will be trying to get that points. It could be 2 now for him, as Kinsman is now up into P7. Incredible job by him, as he's won 2 10th positions as well. Critical damage won 15, Marco Penish won 9. A couple cars who we did not expect in these top 10 at the end came there. And Kinsman as well with that strategy won 10 positions. What a race for him. And this is well fighting now with critical damage. That will be the final position he will be able to fight for. Will it be a 6 or 7 for him? Gijs now almost 2 seconds ahead of Rotex. So with that 3-second penalty, he still needs to gain more than a second. Maybe you could get Bazal on those 3 seconds, as the last 2 laps of this race are now arriving. Marco Penish and Moran are still fighting for that 4th position. Marco Penish wants it and is now on the inside going into turn 6. Will we be able to get past? Oh, there's contact between Moran and Marco Penish. Moran breaks too deep and has damage there. Marco Penish gets up into P4, but what happened there? As Moran just got into the back of Marco Penish. What a moment in the end of the race, as it's IMK retiring as well in the pits, but it sees Moran getting damage and sees Marco Penish get up into P4. What a moment in the final laps of this race for these two. A big moment. And luckily both drivers still driving, because that definitely could have been different. Looking at how big the impact was, as Kinsman now is up into P6. What an incredible comeback race for Kinsman. 11 places won. Started in P17, ladies and gents. Now is up into P6. Incredible race. Gijs going up into P8. Of course, with that 3-second penalty, won't be able to keep that position, but it is important for him, because he needs to get that 3-second gap to Bazal to stay in the points. Final lap of the race is here, lap 28 of 28, and it is Ned Burney still in the lead in that second stint. He was absolutely incredible. Just matched the times Johan did. Sometimes gone a bit quicker, which sees the gap now at 3.2 seconds. Heading to the final corners of this race for him. Ned Burney was in P2 last week at Silverstone, fighting for the win, but mostly he was fighting for a podium at the end. He made up a lot of positions, which at the end saw him get the P2. But now he has driven a great race and was a lot quicker than Johan. Already in the start of the race you saw how racy he was and how much he wanted to get that victory. He tried a couple times in the opening laps of this race, but wasn't able to get past Johan. However, in, I think it was lap 7, he made the overtake stick. After that, he never lost the lead again. Ned Burney is around the final corner and gets to P1 in this race. Ned Burney wins the Grand Prix in China. Johan gets P2. And it is Heiser getting his podium in his debut this season. He's in P3. Marco Panish finishes in P4 after that accident in lap 27 with Maran. Maran 3 seconds behind him because of that, because he had damage. Kinskman, what an incredible comeback drive by him. He's in P6 with that strategy. Good job for Kinskman. Critical damage getting P7. Snow at the end gets on to go in P8. Bazal gets ahead of Gijs, so he's in P9. Rotex in P10. And Gijs, with that 3-second penalty, is falling back down to P11. That's such a shame for him. Heiser in P3, like you say. Great job by the man in Audi. And Gijs, no points for him in his first race of the season for VCarb. Jolush, last week he was driving really good, having a really good race, Jolush. Ending it in P5, but for now it is only P12 for him. No points, as he can't continue to get into the points in race 2. That's unfortunate for him. However, a great race for Jolush. This is the podium with Ned Burney on top of it. Great job for him. Great race by him. And Johan in P2. And Heiser in P3. We see the driver of the day is Kinskman. And I think I must agree with that. The game had it right there, I think, because 11 positions won. Of course, we can't forget Marco Panish as well, because he has driven an incredible race too. Same for Critical Damage, who's also won 14 positions. What a race for those drivers who had a really bad quali, but at the end made up for it. Mark Daniel was in P13, Noah P14, Zelov in P15. Robbe had not a DNF, but a bad race at the end. It's CJM on P17, Provotox P18, IMK in P19, and Nexus, Chris, and Mohammed. Same for IMK, by the way, does not make the finish in this Grand Prix of China. Well, what an incredible race we've seen tonight, with Ned Burney getting the victory, getting his first in this season. Second podium, same goes for Johan. Their podium streak keeps growing in this race in China. Like I said, I think driver of the day was Kinskman, because what a drive by the man in the Aston Martin. Incredible job by him. Same goes for Gijs, who done the same strategy, but at the end with the 3-second penalty lost it all, which is such unfortunate for him. But a great race by him as well. So that strategy, going hard medium. Last week we saw Zen Litzy do it. This week we saw Kinskman and Gijs, and it worked out for them both once more. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was it here in China. Of course, I can't be gone before we take a look at the calendar, because next week there will be such another exciting event. We'll be in Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium for the third round of the PSGL PlayStation competition. After we see a break, so we have a week rest. Then we'll go on to the amazing track of Madrid in Spain. Then Austria, Imola, Las Vegas, Mexico, Brazil, Bahrain, and we end it all in October in Texas. So that's that for the upcoming weeks. Like I said, next week we are in Belgium. Such an iconic track as well. So yeah, I hope to see you guys all there. thanks for watching tonight. Unfortunately, like I said, I've done it alone, the commentary. Not with Harry, who is chilling in New Zealand. Wish him once more a great time there. Next week, there may be a reserve. Maybe I'll do it alone. But you'll be in my safe hands next week as well. I thank you all guys for watching. Wish you all a great rest of your evening. And maybe we'll see each other next week. Bye bye.